Hi guys, welcome to Challenge the Road Christmas video. I'm going to do a talk with Shmee 150, Tim, about all his cars and values. And I really want to get into this and go, right, is the 675 a good buy? The Ford Focus Heritage, the P1. Really go through his collection and do the sort of videos we enjoy. Renault Clio V6 over there, Lamborghini Gallardo. So without further ado, I will go into the video with Tim. And let's go round all the cars here. Hi guys, welcome to Challenge the Road. I'm here with Tim,
welcome.
aka Shmee 150.
Welcome to the Shmuseum, yeah. And thank you for bringing this down.
Yeah, the P1. I know you've got a brilliant video coming out on that. I wanted to just go through your collection and understand more of the cars, maybe some values on them, where you think some of the cars are going to go. Because on my channel, I talk a lot about appreciating cars or cars that are just good to drive.
This is value for money right now. This should appreciate. I mean, 675 LT, you can get a coupe with some miles for under 200 grand, right? Like, yeah,
and less. I mean, I was at the auction, ACA auctions, and I saw another auction as well at the NEC. I mean, higher mileage cars.
What were they getting?
Yeah, sort of 30,000. They were going for sort of 160k.
Insane value. And the thing is, the 675 LT, I say it to this day, is the most dialed in McLaren they made because they fixed all the quality issues from 12C and 650, and these have very few problems. Yeah,
and I think the Spider, you might as well go Spider because you've got all the ability of a coupe.
The coupe looks a little cleaner, the roofline sits just a touch lower. Minor details, I think the rear deck of the coupe looks a little nicer, but McLaren's the big selling point, right, is that the carbon tub means you don't lose any of the rigidity by having the open top. Yeah. So on that basis, you might as well. Again, like I say, though, this to me should be, in terms of how it drives, at least a 500 grand car. Yeah. The fact that it's a 200k car, I can never get my head around why. They cost very little to maintain. This is like 800 to 1,000 pounds a year for its annual service. I've done 20,000 miles, and other than I had a thermostat issue in the early days, no big deal at the end of the day. And as per all McLarens of that era, the oxidation of the front wings. Yeah, that is a thing on them, isn't it? This is new now, new carbon wings, new carbon.
So have you had this done?
Yeah, so I had this done 3 or 4 years ago.
And how much did that cost?
Warranty.
Warranty? Okay, right, okay.
So the only thing I've had since is a battery, and I got a second-hand battery for 500 quid. Right. And off we go. Yeah, I'm very tempted to get back. Obviously, I owned them originally. Yeah. When they first come out, I had 3 of them. So outside of the annual service and consumables like tyres and brake pads, I haven't paid for anything on this other than a battery.
So I'll tell you what I think holds it back value-wise.
Too many McLarens that are all too similar and too fast?
I think they're difficult to get in and out of. Okay? Yeah. And I think if you're looking at the older market, when they first come out, a lot of owners said they were too difficult to get in and out of, which then they were coming out of them that put a lot on the market. Yeah. I think the lights aren't great at night on them, and the lift is quite slow.
The lift is annoyingly slow.
And if that could be retro to a button. I found
multiple stalk pulls.
I found I was grounding out a lot and having to use the lift quite, and I wish the lift was maybe at 50 mile an hour.
You know the plastic piece under here?
Yeah.
I've replaced that a few times.
Have you? So I think that's, for me, what is holding it back a bit.
So it's something I actually find the more people I speak to, when a car grounds out, even if you're not really damaging anything or breaking anything, or it's a 20-pound replaceable part, psychologically, it puts you off driving the car because you don't want to hear the constant.
Exactly, I had that even through Tunbridge Wells. I go, and I'm like, oh God, that's good.
Even if it's nothing and it's not that expensive.
Now I really, really like this car.
This has been a good investment. Yeah. I bought this for, nearly 5 years ago, and let's just say I bought it for half what it's worth now. So. Yeah,
it was really, really good car for you. Really good car. And it's fantastic to drive. I haven't driven one, but I've been watching videos on them. And it looks really good.
You have to. I think that downshift. There's something about the history of Mercedes, the gull-wing doors, the whole story behind it. This engine, right? The V8 engine in here is just something else. And then the fact that they took basically the SLS AMG GT3 race car ethos, the suspension, the dampers, the setup, and made a kind of obscure limited edition that not many people knew all that much about. And that's this like perfect recipe for something super interesting. And at the end of the day, maybe it's like 450 cars in total, something like that, 500 cars. They're very, very rare. I've arguably driven this far too many miles. I mean, it would be worth a ton more if I hadn't. I bought it at 6,000.
That is the tricky thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
I bought this at 6, and now it's on 27,000, I want to say.
Yeah. So, and that's great that you drive them and use it, obviously, for your channel. And
yeah.
I was just trying to think of, where do you think these could go, though? Because they've gone up a lot.
£1 million car.
Yeah, £1 million.
One day for sure. For my generation, people in mid-30s, that kind of thing, come into some money. It's stuff like this and your Mercy SV.
Yeah.
These cars from that period, 2010 to 15, sweet spot. And I think a lot depends on the future prospects of a company. So I think one thing that hampers McLaren is that the company is going through difficult times.
Yeah.
They're getting their feet back on. You know, they've kind of restarted, new CEO, bringing things back together.
Would you worry where they're going? If, like Artura, I mean, I haven't seen one on the road.
Not here. In America, you'll see a lot more.
Right, okay.
UK just hasn't taken on to Artura. But what I mean by that is, think about McLaren as a company. If the F1 hadn't, if modern McLaren didn't exist, F1s wouldn't have shot up as much as they have.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they would have still been incredibly valuable cars, but they wouldn't be £25 million cars. That's because of the growth of the company. That's why Ferrari and Porsche have this history. And I think Mercedes have the same. If the future of Mercedes is good, cars like this are going to be even more special. If, however, Mercedes fall by the wayside with the rise of Chinese EVs and everything, then it's not so positive for a car like this.
I had a C63 Black Series.
Yeah.
Well, you had a Black
Series. I had one briefly,
yeah. And I thought it was really, really good to drive.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I do far more with my AMG GT Black Series. Obviously, the newer one, it's at service at the moment because I've done 40,000 miles in 3 years. So it needs new ceramic discs, needs a new pump of some description. Anyway, but this is the more exciting car, the more collectible car.
So how many miles are you doing a year?
75,000
really?
In this lot.
Really?
That doesn't include like normal daily drivers. That's in the silly stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it kind of adds up.
I thought you was going to say 35, actually. That's a lot of miles.
You know, this year alone, my GT Black Series has done 8,000 or 9,000. The Ford GT's done 5,000. This has done 4,500. Like every car, it's just boom, 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 miles, miles, miles.
Right, let's move on to these.
So M2 is my dad's because he's borrowing my Ferrari Roma.
I like the seats.
I've got a funny story with M2s, but we'll get to that one a little bit later.
Just because it's just a bit different.
I like the colour. I like the colourway. I'm not the biggest fan of the looks, but it is a good car to drive. And what I quite like is, unlike the C63, for example, they kept it combustion engine, right? They kept it a little bit more about the driver and the old school and less about the tech. And that's been the biggest win for BMW in the last years, is that they did keep the cars for drivers. So you can kind of excuse the janky looks a little bit.
I'm really tempted by an M2.
Yeah. I mean, not from an investment point of view. This has been good from an investment point of view.
Yeah.
Focus RS Heritage.
Yep.
50 cars. If you look at how many left, only 9 of the 50 are still registered.
Right.
Which is quite funny. We've done maybe 11,000 with this. It's kind of basically my girlfriend's daily driver.
I mean, I just bought a Focus RS at auction, 5,000 mile, one owner, Mark 1. Just because
Mark 1, cool.
Yeah, because it goes with the rally sort of side. But I think these would probably be much better to drive. The Mark 1's okay. Have you driven one?
I don't think I've ever driven a Mark 1, to be honest. I'd like to. I mean, I've got the Ford Bug, so Mark 1s, Mark 2s. One day I'd love to have all of the
Escort
RSs.
Cosworth?
Less me.
Have you driven one?
Why? I've never driven one.
I should bring them up.
Yeah, I'm sure if I drive it, I'll change my tack straight away. But, I love the Mustangs.
Yeah.
The silly things.
Up here.
Shelby GT500, and I have my new Mustang Dark Horse in the US as well. GT500. The funny thing with that, and this is what makes you go, oh, hold on a second, is that there are like 10 of these in the UK, and 75 P1s?
Yeah.
Like that is really a rare car.
And how much is that new?
Sorry?
How much was that new?
New, $106,000.
Okay.
And what you get for that money is
a lot of
760 horsepower, carbon wheeled, track spec, dual clutched V8.
And how are they holding up? If there's only 10, do not many come on the market?
It's really hard to know what the UK values are. In the US, they've actually held it around MSRP list price.
Okay.
So even though it's a 2020 4-year-old car.
And the Focus, what was that?
That
originally?
Was 39,000 new.
39. And what are they now?
Hard to say again, but 65, 70, 75.
Okay, that's good.
Depends on the car.
Here's a car that we really want to go up in value, but seems to hold at this sort of 150 range, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've struggled way more than you would think because, and don't get me wrong, I love the car. But like in the last year, I've only driven this, and I know because it's going for service in a few days. I've only driven it 90 miles in 12 months, which my normal rule of thumb is if I find myself only driving a car that much in a year.
And you said you'd never sell this one though, didn't you?
I don't know what the future is. If I'm not driving it, what's the point in keeping it? But it's
what stops you from driving it? Because you love the noise.
Love the noise, love the feel. I don't really know. To be honest. I've had it for 8 years. Yeah. Yeah,
and it can be. The in-track suspension I've got is very, very good on these.
Yeah.
And it does transform it. But I get a bit like you. Sometimes you sort of you have them a while, but then when you sell it and then you look back and think, oh, I really like that car now.
Yeah. I mean, I have to be honest, when I bought it, it was 209 new, I think, for my spec off the top of my head. I definitely thought it would hold better than it has. You know, in 8 years, 209 grand in the bank would have become worth a lot more, whereas the car is worth sub 150.
But it's a nice WhatsApp group, the GTA.
It's an awesome WhatsApp
it's really,
group.
that's the other thing.
I love the owners.
My one.
The owner club, the GT8 club, set up by a guy called Phil, is brilliant. He's been keeping everyone together in the loop from day one. And it means about 50% of the cars are represented in one group chat, which is really fun because there are lots of interesting owners with nice collections and stuff.
This is interesting, the original
V8
Vantage, and I mean, your first videos.
Obviously, you know these well with your CTR projects, but the thing with these cars is how much car you get for the money.
I know, it's unbelievable, really.
A car like this, I mean, this is a 4.7 Roadster, so a little bit more than a 4.3 Coupe, but it amazes me that even this is worth less than like an electric hatchback.
It's crazy.
That people
and it's
wouldn't
an Aston Martin.
They wouldn't even batter an eyelid about going to lease an electric. But one of these has a naturally aspirated V8, Aston Martin looks, lovely leather interior. Like, it punches way above its price point. I mean, for 40k, you can get a decent 4.7.
I know.
Like, it's mad.
I mean, I suppose it's obviously...
High 20s for a 4.3?
Yeah, well, lower than that now. They're coming down.
Wow.
So, I mean, it is a lot of value. And if you can upgrade them, you know, certain parts of them, they can be really, really good to drive. Yeah. I like my V8S I've got, and they've dropped down a bit as well. And the V12 I've got in the manual, I think is very good value. Yeah. At 65.
Such a pretty car.
Yeah,
such
it is,
a pretty car.
You never beat the looks on that.
No. Then this is my like little, I guess, collectible corner, right? To wind back, my first ever car was identical to this. Little 3-door Clio. I mean, that's worth less than £1,000, but it's 1.2. The memories, being a 17-year-old. But obviously always lusting after one of these, which we share in common. Yeah. These, again, the market's gone crazy for them because
there's one's just come up for 115,000.
What on earth?
Yeah.
I mean, so mine is a very lower valued example because it was a really bad condition car and we completely redid it.
And this was black gold?
It was a black gold.
Originally?
Yeah, it was a black gold. It hadn't been run when I bought it for 8 years and there was a mouse living in the boot. So, so it needed every panel fixed, which is why I resprayed it. And then it needed everything. So,
did you keep the hamster with it?
No. So it full engine out and we, while we were at it, did lightweight flywheel, clutch, suspension,
Oh, that's
brakes.
interesting. Like flywheel.
It's lovely.
Right, that interests me because obviously they've done that on the Vantages as well.
And my plan at the time, you know, when I bought it, my plan was right, fix it up, make some videos, flip out of it, off we go, and then I got a bit obsessed with it and I couldn't let it go now. I
wanted one for ages and I couldn't find a good one. Then one come up at VVS that I bought recently, and I do feel there, but I'm driving it all the time.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah, really good fun.
And just a format that won't exist again. Nobody's going to make another hatchback with an engine in the back of it.
And rear-wheel drive.
Like, it's just not going to happen again.
You don't get rear-wheel drive hatchbacks that often, as you know, small car. And
I love it. Absolutely
I really love it.
And then my second car when I was younger, when I was 21, I got a 1 Series, 123. So the 1M being the flagship model of that. Did this recently. I have to be honest, I've not really gelled with the 1M as much as I thought I would. And I find it very strange. I can't put my finger on it because on paper,
it should be really good.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is a lot of fun, but I think it's almost because I like driving the silly, uncomfortable, impractical stuff, and this does a lot of that. This is almost too sanitized.
Yeah. I get you, yeah.
It's too much
Clio
a BMW.
feels like a go-kart to me.
Yes.
I feel alive in it. I'm like, every corner feels like an experience. The steering wheel's a little bit offset like a go-kart.
It's all a bit weird.
Yeah.
And it's just cool. I'm liking this a lot at the moment. This is one of the Ferrari dealer edition Abarths. I actually bought it on collecting cars for an absolute steal. Yeah. I paid 16 grand for this, and I'm sure it's worth at least 10
I really
more
like
than
these.
This is number 200 of 200 as well. It's plaqued, and it was Dick Lovett Swindon's
But
demo.
there are some deals at the moment in the auctions, aren't there? There's some
for
cars
sure.
on there. I mean, people coming out of cars, maybe needing the money or whichever way, but I am seeing some deals on there where I think, that's good value. You know?
Yeah, so part of me went into this thinking, that's got to be something that, as a guy who likes Ferraris, it's fun to have anyway, because it's Rosso Corsa, Ferrari red. It needs a bit of fixing up and tidying up, some paint work and small things. Obviously, you've done wheels and tyres and the obvious stuff, but give it a little bit more of a fix.
I quite like that. I mean, I'm just doing a Subaru Impreza at the moment, full respray and stuff. And I know it's not going to make money, but I like the idea of keeping them going and just doing little bits and bobs to them,
Yeah, so that's kind of fun.
Right, let's move over to this section because I really want to go through these with you. Right, let's go through the line here then.
This is my friend's Gallardo, pre-LP, 5-litre Spider.
Manual?
No, E-gear.
Okay.
Obviously, manual's now worth a big premium over the auto cars. These are interesting, though, because they're actually not very much money. They're collecting cars auctions, for example, on these 50s, that type of cash. And for that, again, similarly, you get you get a Lambo with
I've been
V10.
looking at them too, yeah. So
You and I are probably going to be against each other. No, he's very kindly allowed me to keep it here.
How do you find the E-gear? Have you been out
I
in this?
like it. I like the automated manual. I think automated manual cars are going to have their time in the same way that, there was a point where nobody wanted a manual because autos and dual clutches were better, right?
Yeah.
And now everyone wants a manual. I think E-gears are going to be similar. The idea with an E-gear was that it's automated but very light, right? And there is a level of driver involvement. You're still fluctuating the throttle. You're still driving it like it's a manual car. And things like the LFA have flown in values. 177s have kept their values. Obviously, Mercy SVs are pretty much all E-gears.
Yeah.
I think there is going to be more of an appreciation for this type of gearbox in the years to come than there is now.
You have to work at it, don't you? You have to feel like you have got a clutch there. So you just slightly lift.
Yeah, you're driving it. You don't just leave it in auto and go. Or you don't if you want a nice experience.
I think with these, they look really compact. That's my first thing, being next to it here.
Very
Really
small
nice size. You've got a V10, which is, how many V10s will there be going forward?
Well, none.
Hardly. It's got carbon there.
It's I think it's some kind
I've
of
never seen that.
wrap
Is that a
thing.
wrap? Yeah, I've never seen that.
When it comes to future V10s, they're done.
Yeah.
Carrera GT, LFA, done. Vipers, done. Lambos and R8s, done.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Finished. End of an era. It's crazy.
I really like this car.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah,
I love
I've driven one actually. My friend lent it to me I didn't get a chance to do a video, but he lent it for me for the afternoon, and I really, really enjoyed it.
It's so hard to explain the Purosangue sometimes because it's a heck of a lot of money. It's a heck of a lot of money. And it makes no sense because it's not an SUV. It's not practical like an Urus. It's not off-roadable like a G63, right? It's basically a more practical 812 is the way I've often worded it.
Yeah, that's a good, and owners I find of 812, they love the car, but it is spiky. Whereas now you've got four-wheel drive. You can use this performance.
You
it's
can,
usable.
you can. I absolutely love it because there's nothing like it. It's like if you try and compare a Rolls-Royce Phantom to something else. There isn't.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Maybachs and Bentleys, they're different. Phantom sits on its own. This sits on its own. You can't sit there and do like a group test between this and an Urus Performante and a DBX 707 because it isn't.
I think the big difference with this car is suspension. Because
the Multimatic dampers are insane.
And with UK roads now, you find you get a new car and you go, it's too firm. Look at Porsches coming out. 992s.
Everything's too firm.
So because they've got lower profile tyres than ever. So I think the suspension's fantastic. When I drove it, I thought, wow. And I find it a bit like the Urus Performante Lamborghini. It's an SUV. And I didn't really think, why is anyone going to buy... we're in a world that we're trying to get lower emissions, and it was the 4-litre V8, 600, and you think no one's going to buy it, but they held their money for ages, and now they're coming down.
It's true.
But I really, really like this car.
It's I'm a bit of a sucker for the current Ferrari lineup, but one of the things I like a lot about them is that the ride in most Ferrari cars is actually quite comfortable and soft.
And they're not using lifts anymore, are they?
No, they all
got lifters. Okay.
Yeah, all of these three have lifts.
So I remember the 488 didn't need I haven't driven much of the modern range of Ferraris because I was very much 355, 360, then I was 430 Scuderia, but I really like these. And the 296 is an interesting car now because everyone I talk to says it's brilliant to drive.
Brilliant car, but bye-bye lots of money, which doesn't really make sense. I kid you not, I'm very spoiled to drive a lot of different cars, right? There aren't many things on the market at the high end that I haven't experienced. This, right now, is the best car you can buy to actually drive, especially in the UK, on our roads. There is nothing that has the feel, the sound, the emotion, the ride quality, the whole package this offers is so dialed in. I know in the early days of SF90s they had issues. This car is coming up, a year and a half old. I haven't had a single glitch with this. Okay. Nothing, not one single issue. With nothing to do with it. It's built brilliantly. I think it looks incredibly pretty. It's very practical, even though it's the convertible. There's space behind the seats as well as in the front. The whole experience of ordering and owning a new Ferrari obviously comes with it. I just think that the 296 is so good, and arguably that's why it doesn't work. Because people, we're suckers for impracticality. It's why Aventadors were so popular, because they were pretty useless. Impractical, bad gearboxes, huge, clunky, awkward.
Well, I bought one and thought, what is this car?
It made them so cool. That stupidity of it. It's ironic, but it's the truth.
This is Rosso Dino?
This is Rosso Dino, because I think the design is a throwback to the original 60s Dino.
See, I've been looking at them thinking, well, so a coupe now is under 200, some of them, down one. So,
and you get 7 years servicing, you have an extended warranty,
Well, the reason I thought about the P1 was because it's zero tax road tax and that in America. But I was thinking more that apparently the councils are going to have some laws on your CO2 emissions when you drive through villages. And maybe be able to charge people to go through. And I just thought the benefit with a hybrid long term is that you can go in E-mode and you can drive through that village with no sound at all with virtually. So I see the appeal if they're, like you said, the big thing you said there is that it's working. Because I know that some are like the Revelto and that people are having a few...
been disastrous. But similarly, these were when they were new.
Right, okay. So it's getting better every model, isn't it?
Exactly, every model. And the thing with this for me, I know it sounds silly as a petrol head, but when I go home, I often go home really late at night. I do like, if I've taken one of these, pulling in electric. Just parking, not disturbing my neighbour. It sounds stupid, but even for that last mile, same in the morning. You know, I quite like get out and away from my neighbourhood, then start it.
Well, the V8 I struggled with. You know, I was just working on different exhausts with the Vantage.
Yeah.
Because you turn it on, it goes, and it's like an angry tiger.
Everyone knows about it. Yeah, but safe to say, if we're talking investment, I think the SF90 is a bit of a poster car right now for massive depreciation, unfortunately. You know, I've been lucky to own this from new.
But if you had, say, a LaFerrari that you just kept, you could drive. This is 1,000 horsepower. Oh, probably faster.
It's bonkers fast.
And it's crazy value now. I mean, what are these, 300?
If you get one of these for £300,000, you are beating hypercar performance from only a few years ago for sensible supercar money. And the other thing with it is that, obviously, I met the profile, and I'm lucky to have an allocation for an SF90XX, which is coming in about 2 months' time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
And to be honest, I think that's actually, out of the blue, become one of the coolest cars right now. I think it's almost gone from the SF90, which is a little bit lost in its market positioning, to the XX, where everyone's turned around and gone, actually, wait a second, that thing is badass. That thing is really cool.
Well, where you know, say from my channel, I'm trying to look at when is the bottom to come into the cars. So if you look at 296 now, if you look at what were they, 350?
They'll keep going down.
That's what I mean. But where's it stop?
I don't know.
Do you know? Seeing that's where, and that's what, you know, I quite enjoy that, trying to think, well, where's the car? When's it not going to lose much more? Because Porsche GT3s and things, you can sort of have a bit of an understanding of the market, but because this hybrid supercar is quite new, and
you don't know, because the reality is, your buyers in 10 years won't be so anti-batteries as the buyers now are.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a changing demographic.
The warranty is quite a lot on this, though, isn't it, for the battery now? Ferrari have come out.
10 years or something?
Well, I think that it's less than that, and it's £7,500 a year for the warranty on the battery on SF90.
Okay.
So I think that's where it starts to affect them a little bit. I think that
I know Ferrari Ferrari, because the warranty on LaFerrari, for example, covers the battery.
That's just their plans come out about a month ago. I think it was definitely £7,500 for battery warranty SF90 out of warranty.
But that's the full warranty, I think, including battery. That's not like separate.
No, then there was an engine warranty, but we can have a look at that. But I don't know if that holds.
I'm interested now.
Yeah,
I
actually put it on a
video.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's holding these, because I think you have maybe 8 years on the warranty on SF90.
So the manufacturer's warranty is the full 7 years.
7, okay,
from factory. And then they have the extended warranty program they released in July, which I'm interested if that's an extra thing or if that's like included. And it's available for SF90, Spider, Stradale, XX, Stradale, XX, Spider, 296, 296 GTS.
So these are coming up for 4 years? So you've got 3 years still, but then obviously it could be quite expensive to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, but the beauty is, right, I'm going to trade this into the dealer. The guy who buys it from the dealer is going to have 2 years warranty from the dealer. So keep it in the system.
And that's what that sort of unknown is a bit with the batteries, which is happening across the electric cars as well. You know, if the Porsche Taycan, you have a problem. I saw the McLaren warranty on the W1, I think, was 6 years on the battery.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to make a huge impact to this.
Well, it will do, yeah, it will do.
It's going to have a really good thing. So Ferrari...
Well, I was trying to work out why is the SF90 really dropping, and it was those sort of figures that were affecting.
But do you know, there's another big topic in it as well. I think the SF90, confusingly, was positioned in a really odd segment in the market, because when this launched, it was 400 plus options, right?
Yeah.
6 years ago, geez. At that point, you had the run of supercars for 200 to 300. Yeah. Which I'm not going to say are easily obtainable, but if you're in a fortunate position, you could finance one, you could get into one. Yeah. You didn't have to be a bazillionaire to purchase a car at that bracket. Hypercars, you obviously need to be fortunate enough to have a lot of disposable income and want to collect them. This landed in the middle. So it was out of reach for your person who likes trying a new supercar every year or chopping from one into the next, which is a big segment of the market, but it wasn't desirable enough to be a collectible.
More than an Aventador like SVJ.
Way more.
So that's where...
So it got lost in this limbo and being a little bit misunderstood. You know, Ferrari collectors who have the Big Five and whatever else didn't necessarily want to lock an SF90 into their collection and keep it permanently because it didn't feel special enough.
And then you feel like you should use it, so then you put miles on it, which then... But I'm looking at these, so if I was coming in now thinking about 296, like if I was getting in a coupe for 160 in a year's time or so, I'd think I'm getting into an amazing car.
At 160, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be there.
What cars cost now?
Well,
an AMG GT costs more than 160 now.
I mean, I got offered one of these for 180 in coupe. Yeah. So we're not far away.
Yeah, what was that, which would have been a 250 new? Something like that, 250,
maybe
260?
A little bit more, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know much about the Zenvo.
Impossible to discuss from that point of view. Obviously, only
How many are made of this model?
Of this model, 4.
4?
Yeah. Okay. So obviously very rare, unusual thing.
That's got exposed carbon there.
I loved buying this, and it's so exciting talking with the company, working with the company. They've got the Aurora, the new model, and just seeing where it's all going. I believe in the team that Zenvo have. So it's funny, a big part of this car for me was wanting to support Zenvo. Yeah. Wanting to support Jens and the whole team that have set up there. It's what I consider like a car to take to events. You know, I've driven it at Spa. Yeah. It was crazy. Just ludicrous experience. But in a drag strip, I'm going to take the SF90, or to go and beat on a track, I'm not going to take something this valuable. So for me, it's about how enjoyable the experience is. You know, when you go to an event, everybody looks at this and they're like, what on earth is that? And that's where it's almost priceless, because those faces and those conversations are so much fun. As much as I'd love to keep it forever, it's not going to be an option. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources to
What's the values of this now? What are we looking at?
In the 1 point something range.
1 point something, okay. I thought it might have been more, actually. There's a lot of detail, a lot of carbon wheels.
Yeah, obviously.
And only 4.
Sorry?
Only 4, you say?
Only 4 TSR-S's, in this model, with the wing, the
very
dancing
limited
wing. That has been an endless amount of amusement to see people's faces. When I went out on track at Spa, and obviously go through the first corners and the wing starts dancing, I got black flagged because they thought the car was broken.
Oh, right. It's a lovely colour. Really nice.
Yeah, that whole specking experience was so much fun. So much fun. Unlike anything else. I think
that your channel is about experiences, isn't it? I mean, that's where...
That's what
I've watched you a long time.
Like, I've always wanted to share things that you can't necessarily see somewhere else.
Yeah.
So being able to show that whole insider process, like laying some of the pre-preg carbon to make the wheels, was such a unique opportunity. Like, it wasn't just buying a car at that point, it was then bringing the audience along for that journey with it.
I love watching it when you're doing, especially new cars, because your knowledge is so high on colours, on spec. No, but that's important for us as a viewer, that we can see that and have, we're using your experience to look at new cars, but also learn more about cars. And that's important for everyone to realise. And for you're doing it every day, so you're not so much looking from the outside in, whereas I am, and it's...
Yeah, but it's a funny one because obviously I spend hours and hours reading and learning.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because people, when it's a new car coming out, the first thing I do, new car's coming, right, let me read the press release, 30 pages, like just learn it and try and take it in. And then when cars exist on the market, like for example your P1 or whatever it is, that's where I'm constantly then reading about all the models that are out there, keeping up on them. And my platform ECR is obviously a big help for that, because a car like this, I can piece together those bits of history.
Well, I really want to do that,
But I know that it means when I next film a video, I have some additional information to share, some additional facts, and things that at the end of the day are interesting. That's the goal.
Yeah. And also it's, giving that knowledge to youngsters as well coming in, and having that amount of enthusiasm you've got for the cars. Like coming here today, I can see you're like, you've had 2 bags of Haribo sweets because the P1s are right. And of course that makes me a bit more. I'm getting excited. We're all, and that's the key, isn't it?
This sounds perhaps cliche, but something that makes your own car even more exciting is when you get to share it with someone else and they get excited about it, and how contagious that is, and how it kind of goes full circle. I enjoy this so much as well that you take the Zenvo to a car event, right? Take that to a car event, and for the whole day, people will be interested in it, excited about it, wanting to know a little bit about it. And that makes you feel even more enjoyment from the car. Like it's a full circle package.
Well, it's like, for me, it's not so much about money, it's about experiences, it's about owning stuff and working to a level that you can be able to afford and own and share really important things. Like, this P1 is the only one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how much money you got now and what you do. If I'm not selling it, you can't have this one. Do you see what it,
yeah, that's true.
See, which is nice. And then if you've worked
well, hold on. You're not selling it, but I've got it now.
No, yeah, I know.
I'm playing. No, but it's the same like with my Ford GT. I'll never sell my Ford GT, ever. It's on its way back from the US right now. I've done 17,000 miles in it. And admittedly, it would be worth 200,000 or 300,000 more if I hadn't. But it's about being able to take it to places, sharing the story of the car.
Yeah.
For my channel, how many millions and millions and millions of views have videos of that car had, because I wanted to share the whole journey of it.
And also you have them times where you need to get cash flow. You need to sometimes move them on to get the cash flow to do other things. You might be doing a new house, and it's always tough, to do that. I bought back my old family home and I had to, get everything to get that.
You mean there's a reality of life in this?
Yeah,
I was missing.
And then it's, trying to, like you say, give experiences to people. And like for me coming up here, well, thanks for having me, but it's nice to come up because you're watching people on YouTube and different things, and then you actually come and meet them, see this museum, and it gives me, well, when I first come up, I said, how big is this? And then I built a clubhouse, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because you're giving me the
learning.
the learning. You're saying, what are you putting on the floor? What lighting?
I never realised at the time how many people would message me about things to do with this build of the garage doing the same, or creating their own man cave.
Yeah.
Whether it's talking about the bend pack lifts, or like you say, the painting of the floor, or different elements. The number of people who have, I think, almost been, how do I say it? You know, there's a natural caution to doing something unusual, but once you've seen somebody else doing it, it breaks almost that barrier and you can give it a go. A lot of people who might have a bunch of cars and have them just dotted around wherever have said, oh, wait a second, I should do this.
Yeah.
Put together a building and have them all together.
But also people have to see people doing things to have the belief sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, to go, you know, if you look at myself, I didn't start with anything and I've had to build with 1 car to 2 cars to 3 cars. And, you know, sometimes you get lucky as well that, you know, cars do appreciate, it gives you more money to do things. And then I'm sort of at a time in my life where I want to meet people, experience things, be happy, you know, and not be chasing everything round.
Cars are a great way to meet people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people don't realise that sometimes, how, you know, if you've got a car, you've got car. I really want to improve cars and coffees, track days, and keep it all alive, you know. So, but this car looks unbelievable.
Looks good. It looks good with the LT. The colours together are awesome. Sorry, do you want a good deal on it? No, I'm just kidding.
I was, when you were talking about it, I was thinking, oh, all right.
300, special price for you.
So what are your sort of aims now for the collection? Because you're going into 25. You said about, you know, some you might move on the GT8. You might. What are your sort of goals and aims for or do you not have them? Do you just work and you're busy, or
spontaneous? I don't want to reveal too much about my plans. I have a couple of Ferraris on the horizon. My Dodici Cilindri is inbound very soon.
What do you think on that car? Because
I love it.
I think it looks good.
It's a funny one because I see so many comments from people being like, "Oh, you must be being paid to say it looks good." And I'm like, "No, I think it looks awesome." The thing with the car is I'm buying it for me because I would like a 2-seat Ferrari V12 GT to go and do a ton of miles with, because as a little kid that was the dream. Right?
That's
so like
what you wanted.
It's kind of doing it completely for myself. So that's coming. The SF90XX is coming. I'm a little bit nervous about the SF90XX. I've kind of gone backwards in a way. I feel like the more expensive a car gets, the more pressure it puts on me. And I actually really enjoy bombing around in the hot hatches.
It was a lot of pressure bringing this here today. I'll tell you, because I was worried, because I had to, you know, we had a puncture on the trailer, we had to fill it with some fuel, and you feel like a subconscious pressure, and I can see how sometimes people can find that pressure hard to handle.
You're safe and in good hands.
I know, he's in here now, and then when you get here, I go, whew.
But you know, at 200K, I know 200K is a heck of a lot of money. I don't for a second think otherwise. But let me put it this way, the worst that could happen isn't too bad.
Yeah.
I would survive. I could fix it. I can let a friend drive it. If they stuff a wheel or break a bumper, it's not going to be great, but we can fix it.
You've got good specialists now.
Yes. If we're talking £1 million car, if they break a bumper, it's a problem. Like, it's a lot of money. That can be 200 grand, the value of the car plus the fixes and the time it's out and whatnot. So it changes the perspective. You know, I love having a mixture of cars. I love having everything from silly high-powered mid-engine supercars to really enjoyable dynamic Grand Tourers to hot hatches. You know, I like the mixture of cars.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I've got the parts over there of my Porsche 914 that's currently being restored. That will be ready in the near future. Complete curveball for me. I can see doing more cars like that. Restoring, because I also like, people can't, I know a lot of people couldn't get their heads around this. I like saving a car that's otherwise going to get scrapped. Even if it doesn't necessarily make financial sense, it's a close line. I love the concept of that car was destined for the trash, like my Clio V6. It was awful. And I bought it very cheaply. I bought the 914 dirt cheap. But I like the idea of then being able to turn it into something that's really cool and will last forever. That's what I'm doing, like with the Subaru Impreza I've got. You know, it's got a lot of rust in the arches. You've had to get in there going, Richard, it's going to be more, it's going to be more. And I'm going, okay, well, let's just do it, you know. Yeah, I think it adds more to, it's more than just a car at that point, like a relationship you have with the car. So I'm 100% sure that my future of the collection is cars like that, cars that mean a little bit more to me, because there's been a bit more work to make them into what they are. And sometimes it's quite difficult to buy a car.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you want, we spoke about SV, Murcielago, or, you know, you want a Clio V6 and you want one owner and low mileage. It's not like you can just go, oh, well, there's one there. I'm trying to find an Escort Cosworth Monte Carlo.
Okay.
So there's 200.
Yeah.
Then I really want purple, obviously. And there's 8.
How many are there? 8.
So then it's how many are low mileage, and so maybe there's 4. So then,
You're making it easy for yourself. So clearly, you know, this is supply and demand, right? This is simple economics. If there's very few of something and you specifically want it, you're never going to get it at the price you want it either, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody who has one knows the value of what he has as well, which makes, like you know the value of what you have with this. You know, if somebody else wants a purple carbon P1,
it's whatever they want to pay. Yeah.
There's only one of them, people. There's only one of them. You know, whereas I think for me, it's more, I'm going to say based on opportunity, something that becomes available, then I jump at it, rather than setting my targets on, I must get that.
Is there any cars you really want to drive? Now, you've been doing it a long time, but just say if you said, well, like I know you haven't driven a Mark 1 Focus, or is there anything you think, or Lancia Delta, like I've got a Group N rally car, Lancia Delta. Is there anything you think now, because you must have driven so many, is there any you think you haven't driven that?
I've driven everything from McLaren F1 to Porsche 911 GT1, CLK GTR, many different Zondas, Huayras, Koenigsegg's, Bugattis, all of that stuff. I don't think there's anything in that category that I haven't been lucky to drive at this point. There are always new cars.
What about an NSXR?
Never driven. I don't think I've ever driven an older NSX. Only the new. So
there's still stuff there for you.
Yeah. There are still cars for sure.
Yeah, Subaru 22B.
Never driven one.
Tommy Mackinnon.
Never driven one.
I'll bring.
But I'm less a JDM guy. I mean, I just for whatever reason have never really been attached.
Let me bring some up. And then see how you
my dad had an Evo 6 when I was younger.
Yeah, let me bring up a Tommy Mackinnon RS and let's see how that goes. But thanks for having me, Tim. It's been great.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for bringing this down.
Yeah.
It's incredible here.
And I'm going to go away and start looking at 290. Now I know they work fine.
Yeah.
Hi guys, thanks for watching today. Please like, share, subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed that, and it's been really enjoyable for me to walk around and see all Tim's collection. I'll come up again as well once he changes a few around, because I'm really interested in values and how he buys his cars and what he's going to do for the future. See you again soon.